The Great Pyramid of Giza, of which the credit for construction goes to Pharaoh Khufu, is believed to be built around 2550 BC. It was believed to be the largest construction in the world for many decades. Its construction remains one of the biggest mysteries of the world. According to history, the only used equipment in the construction of pyramids were wooden ropes. How is it even possible if it is indeed the case? That is the question archaeologists have been trying to answer over the past decades. If we believe that it was all done by manual labor, calculations say that it must have taken at least 20,000 workers over 20 years to build the Great Pyramid. Some researchers believe that the granite rocks that the pyramids were built with were carried and dragged for almost 5,000 miles without wheels. The granite blocks came via the Nile, and their weights ranged between 2.5 and 15 tons. For an easier approximation about how heavy that is, a normal car weighs about 2 tons. So imagine how large and heavy these blocks actually were. So how did the workers manage to move them for such distance? Back in the day, the outside of the Great Pyramid was covered in polished, shining limestone, which made it sparkle. This limestone was cut in a way to make it appear flat under direct sunlight. It did not have the dusty look it has now due to sand and time effect and the cracking of the outside shell. The question that remains to be asked is, how did it come to be the way it is today? Some hypotheses say that there was a massive earthquake in 1303 AD that caused some stones to loosen and crack, which were later reused to make fortresses and mosques, leaving the sand core of the pyramid exposed, which is the image we have of them today. The Great Pyramid, like every other pyramid, seems to have 4 sides. The aerial view of the Great Pyramid of Giza shows that it actually has 8 sides. This can be seen in the picture above if observed carefully. Archaeologists believe that this was done with the purpose of keeping the stones from shifting. Others, however, believe that the 8 sides were only the product of erosion, and that the intended sides were actually 4, like the rest of pyramids. It is difficult to believe this theory, as the indentation on every side is very precise. Can the wind erode the pyramid with such precision? In 1877, Dr. Joseph Sayce made a one-in-lifetime discovery. His calculations showed that the Great Pyramid of Giza lies where the extended lines of latitude and longitude intersect. To put it simply, it is actually the center of the planet. Did the ancient Egyptians know? And if they did, how could they come to such precise calculations at a time where not even wheels were yet invented? These remains another unsolved mystery about the pyramids and Egyptians. History has us believe that ancient Egyptians were a primitive society and the pyramids were constructed only to serve as tombs for kings and pharaohs. But the conundrum is, how can a primitive society construct such precise structures with such design with nothing but basic wooden tools? Some scholars have gone as far as to suggest that ancient Egyptians had electricity. Wireless electricity, that is. Some ancient carvings show the Egyptians to be holding torches. Another astounding fact is that the Great Pyramid of Giza is made of 2.3 million stones, each weighing 2.5 to 15 tons. What could have withstood that weight, and assuming it was done solely by human labor? The workers would have to lay a block down every 2.5 minutes. The calculations show that the task was unachievable, which led a great number of researchers to believe that the pyramids were built by a more advanced society, one we know almost nothing about. Khufu, the person who is given the credit for the construction of the Great Pyramid, has a coffin that raises many questions. The sarcophagus weighs around 3.75 tons, an extremely heavy weight, so heavy that scientists believe that it could not have been carried inside the pyramid after it was built, believing that it was actually placed there much earlier. Yet another hard-to-believe fact is the part where it is believed that the sarcophagus is carved completely out of granite, a material we still have difficulties craving despite the technological advancement our tools have. Drill holes have been discovered on the sarcophagus. The question is, what drill was used at that time to carve granite, and how could they construct it? Another food for thought fact is that the pyramids named Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure are aligned with the stars Al-Nitak, Al-Nilam, and Mintaka of the Orion Belt. No one knows, to date, how the Egyptians could have achieved this feat of aligning the pyramids with the celestial bodies so precisely. Orion was not even named until 2,000 years after the pyramids were built. It is believed that the constellation was linked with Osiris, god of rebirth, in ancient Egyptian mythology. The pyramid holds a different world in itself. There is an intricate tunnel system made entirely out of limestone. Many mind-boggling discoveries were made there. Most aren't even made public knowledge, which gives rise to conspiracy theorists. There are conspiracy theories claiming that the scientists are hiding everything that is under these giant structures. In numerous ancient texts, there is an allusion to ancient objects in chambers about 55 miles south of Cairo under the city of Hawara. Only recently, scientists found a hidden chamber with the help of a strong X-ray under the Great Pyramid. What the chambers serve for is a mystery that remains to be solved. The first theory built around it is that the architects of the pyramid left a cavity to avoid high pressure that would lead to the collapse of stones. But is it the only purpose of these chambers? If it is all, one of the purposes intended for them. Researchers have figured that the number of stones used to build the pyramids could be used to construct a wall around France. And not just any wall, but one that could go 10 feet high. Despite the advances modern technology has managed to achieve, it still lags behind the ancient civilization of Egyptians considerably. The pyramids in Egypt point to the north, as many people know, but what isn't common knowledge is that the precision with which they point north is 0.05 of a degree to the true magnetic north, a precision not even the Royal Observatory in Greenwich has managed to have. The clock of Royal Observatory in Greenwich is set to GTC, Greenwich Mean Time or Prime Meridian Time, and that is about 13 degrees away from the magnetic true north. If this clock could not get the angles with much precision in the 17th century, then how did Egyptians manage to find the true north with such precision? Another fascinating fact about the pyramid's construction is that if you subtract the Great Pyramid's length at its height, you get 314.16, which is 100 times pi, and adding 2 of its sides in meters gives 100 times the golden number. Archaeologists have been using satellites to look for the remaining hidden structures in Egypt. 17 new pyramids, which were buried around Giza, have been discovered. The infrared rays have also found over 1,000 different burial sites around the area. I couldn't believe we could locate so many sites. To excavate a pyramid is the dream of every archaeologist, said the NASA-funded archaeologist Sarah Parkak. The ground research to find those 17 pyramids is being conducted, and 2 have already been found. Though new pyramids are seeing the light of the day, almost every day the Pyramid of Djoser is still considered to be the oldest. According to archaeologists, this pyramid is believed to be the oldest. Supposed to be built around the 27th century BC, the pyramid has a courtyard right next to it. Originally, the Pyramid of Djoser stood at a height of 203 feet, but the different atmospheric conditions wore it down over the ages. The pyramid has steps, and inside are complex chambers and structures. The insides of the pyramid have been ravaged. There is absolutely nothing inside. The Great Pyramid of Giza was the tallest human-made structure for almost 4,000 years. Then the Lincoln Cathedral was built in 1311, taking that record away. The cathedral took 200 years to be built and eventually collapsed in 1549, which means it was the world's tallest building for only 238 years, compared to 3,800 of the pyramid. Just like the current 7 wonders of the world, there were 7 ancient wonders of the world, of which the Great Pyramid at Giza remains the only one standing. For thousands of years, the pyramid has remained intact, facing both natural destruction and human intervention. The 6 other wonders, however, were not able to stand the test of time. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon and the statue of Zeus were both destroyed by earthquakes, while the Temple of Artemis was torn down by a mob. As far as the Colossus of Rhodes is concerned, the legends say that it was bought and melted down by a merchant in 654 Common. Archaeologists still fail to explain how the Egyptians were able to build the pyramids with nothing but wooden tools and rope. According to history, the Egyptians did not have the required tools to create something like the pyramids which has led to the theory that maybe the pyramids were not actually built by the Egyptians. Pyramids are thought to have more to them than what meets the eye, which is a belief that has been confirmed many times now. Do pyramids hold some higher energy? After finding this hidden chamber inside a pyramid, the scientists decided to conduct a special study. Not so surprisingly, they found that the electromagnetic energy of the Great Pyramid was concentrated in its internal rooms. Higher energy is found in the chambers where the remains of Khufu and his wife and the hidden chamber are kept. A statement was issued by the Supreme Council of Antiquities in Egypt just recently about a new discovery that has been made in the Pyramid of Djoser in Saqqara. A team stumbled upon a priceless statue of one significant Egyptian god, Osiris. The researchers are still unable to figure out who placed such a precious statue of a valuable figure inside the pyramid and their motives behind it. The speculation by the head is that the statue was probably concealed in this area by a priest of Saqqara in antiquity. Brian Forrester, an archaeologist, found 20 boxes weighing 100 tons, each cut out from a swan granite. Initially, it was thought that these were a burial place for bulls, but no evidence of bulls' remains was found. No solid proof has been found yet about when and how these mysterious structures were built. As if the mystery surrounding the pyramid wasn't big enough, a new finding was made. The Great Pyramid has some hidden chambers from which heat/energy is emitted. A thermal scan performed on the Great Pyramid in 2015 revealed that there were 3 specific areas in it which were generating heat. Some mysterious technology is ascribed the reason for this heat production. Some heat areas in the upper half of the pyramid have led to the speculations that there are more chambers hidden inside. The Great Pyramid is the only pyramid that has air shafts. These shafts are angled in correspondence with the celestial bodies. Hyperbolic theories have been made regarding this discovery. Even involvement of aliens in the building of the pyramids has not been completely ruled out by some archaeologists. They believe that the alignment of the air shaft in accordance with the celestial bodies somewhere reflects the hand of some powers greater than humans. Pushing a 20-ton door is obviously something hard if not impossible to achieve. But the architects of the pyramids of Giza made sure that if anyone was stuck inside, they could easily push these heavy doors that are invisible from the outside for security purposes. The recently discovered chamber has been named the Big Void, as it is literally so. It is not connected to any other passage inside the pyramid. The Grand Gallery is open to the visitors, which they can visit by hunching down and walking through a tunnel. This gallery is a connection between the Queen's and the King's chamber. Currently, the pyramids of Giza rest with pride in the desert with nothing else around, but it is believed that a long time ago they were encircled by tombs called necropolis, also known as the City of the Dead. There were religious establishments next to the pyramids too. Most of them vanished with time, except for the Great Sphinx of Giza. The construction of the Great Sphinx is in itself a mystery. Some would say a bigger one than that of the pyramids. The Sphinx mystery divided the archaeologist community itself. Some credit its construction to Khufu, the one who commissioned the building of the second largest pyramid. It is believed that some of Sphinx's features match his, so it could have been made in his likeness. Others, however, believe that the Sphinx was built before Khufu by his father Khufu. And then there are those who believe that the Sphinx was built much before the time of Khufu, as the face of the Sphinx is quite damaged, possibly caused by water. Egypt was not always a desert and received good rain around 6000 before the comet. Egyptians were firm believers of life after death, which is why they made sure they always buried along their corpses objects the dead might need when crossing to the other life. The objects ranged from expensive jewelry to daily use items like combs. Even the most basic necessity was buried with every ruler food. In addition to the aforementioned objects, one other thing that was discovered in every ruler's tomb: a small statue. The Egyptians believed that the statue came to life in the afterlife and served the pharaoh. In one uncovered tomb, 400 statues were discovered. According to history, Al-Aziz, a Kurdish ruler and the second sultan of Egypt, for some reason wanted to destroy the pyramids. He even tried and failed, as the task wasn't as easy as he thought it to be. The proof of this destruction project can be seen on the Menkaura's pyramid. A sizable chunk has been slashed from it, which was the maximum harm Al-Aziz was able to do. The Great Pyramid is literally a jewel. According to the scientists, if it is covered in reflective limestone, it can even be seen from the moon. The Egyptians have called the Great Pyramid Ikit, which translates to glorious light in English. Another interesting fact about these glorious structures is that the inside of the pyramids are cool. The temperature inside the pyramids is maintained at about 68 degrees Fahrenheit, mainly thanks to the many air shafts inside the pyramids that help maintain coolness inside. Some history books insist on the fact that slaves were tortured and forced to build the pyramids for the ruler at the time. Thankfully, that is not true. The workers were paid for the number of hours they spent in the construction of the pyramids, just like any other laborers. Pyramids can be boasted as amongst the most stable structures in the world. Scientists have failed to understand how the Egyptians achieved at that time. The adhesive holding the pyramid together is quite strong. Many scientists have tried to crack the formula's composition, but not much progress has been made in that regard. Unlike common thought, not all pyramids are pointed. Some of them have been found to have flat tops. The Pyramid of Djoser, which is the oldest pyramid in the world, is an example. The hidden chamber found inside the pyramids are called mastabas, serving an odd purpose, as you're going to find out. Mastabas are flat-top tombs. Underneath them are hidden chambers believed to be dear to the pharaoh. Rulers had special tombs constructed to bury their favorite subjects. The idea was that after death, these subjects would serve them again in the afterlife. The architect of the Pyramid of Djoser is Imhotep, a master architect who was so respected in the court of Djoser, he even had a statue in his name. The reason for Imhotep's fame was not just the pyramid, he was also an experienced doctor and was even worshipped as the god of medicine. We have figured out by now that the purpose of the pyramids for the Egyptians was to provide a way for the souls to be guided into the afterlife. What that life entailed and how they view the passage between the two worlds still remains ambiguous. The largely held belief is that they thought that the afterlife was like a mirror of the living world without pain and sorrow, an ideal world to say the least.